years ago, before this even happened, asked me. We were just having a conversation, and he was like, "Has anybody ever told you that you might be on the spectrum?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Oh, it sounds like you are." But then he was like, "What are you having for dinner?" And I'm just like, "Okay, well, what does that mean?" Like he never did anything about it. He was white. So like, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm not surprised. He was just like, "Okay, it's a little black girl. She's one of my patients. She comes in for therapy. I think she might be autistic, but I'm not going to do anything about it." So, it was like,
Welcome to Diversity Dish, where we're dishing on everything diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice related. My name is Sedruola Maruska, and we're bridging the gap between what needs to be said and what needs to be heard. Those individual experiences that are often ignored or simply dismissed. Sometimes I'm dining alone, sometimes I'm dining with friends, and sometimes I'm dining a la carte. No matter how I'm dining, it promises to be delicious. Let's dig in. Meet Ayanna, aka Phenomenally Autistic Ayanna, is an autism advocate born and raised in Westchester County, New York. Along with having autism, she has survived over 220 seizures, lives with chronic illnesses, has 2 autoimmune diseases. But she doesn't let that stop her from spreading her messages of self-love, joy, equality, diversity, inclusion, and autism awareness and acceptance through the arts. Welcome back to Diversity Dish. My guest today is Ayanna Davis. Hi, Ayanna, how are you?
"Hi, I'm great. How are you?"
I'm doing well. It is such a pleasure to have you here with me today because I really want my audience to get a feel for you and to get some understanding of some things that we all probably have no idea about. And
Thank
that,
you.
yes, absolutely. And before we get into all of that, we're just going to get to know you just a little bit better by asking
Okay.
you what are you most passionate about right now?
Right now, I'm most passionate about using my voice to bring awareness to autism, mainly, people of color who are autistic, because, they don't get the recognition, they don't get the help and the resources that that white people get. And some people are always like, "Well, we don't want awareness, we want acceptance." But like, you truly have to let people know that you're there in order for them to accept you. So you need the awareness to get the acceptance. So right now, I'm most passionate about, just speaking my truth and letting everybody know that getting an autism diagnosis is not a death sentence. It's not the end of the world. And you can absolutely thrive in life being autistic.
I love it. So you just told us, which what I was going to tell everybody was that you are an autistic Black woman. And
Yeah.
yay. And I think that you are so right that there needs to be some awareness before there can be acceptance, and you have to, people have to kind of be aware and
Yeah.
and learn more, right? So that is where we're going to be talking about today. And especially we want to also talk about your activism, your being an advocate for autistic people, and some of the misconceptions that people have when it comes to autism. So one of the things that you just said was that a diagnosis of autism is not a death sentence and is not the end of the world.
No, it's not.
How long ago were you diagnosed, if that's okay for me to ask you that?
Yes, that's fine. I had a late diagnosis. I was an adult, which is rare to be diagnosed as an adult. You're usually diagnosed as a very young child. Black children are diagnosed on average 3 years later than white children. But,
Mm.
I was an adult. I was diagnosed, I believe, about 5 years ago. My dad's not here right now for me to confirm with him, and that's who usually helps me. But yeah, it was about 5 years ago, full blown adult. Nobody knew what was wrong with me, even though I don't think anything's wrong with me. I'm just different.
Mm-hmm. So what was it that prompted the search into what might be happening with you? If you're ready to step into your power and affect real social change, then I'm ready to help you do that. Join me in the Discover Your Social Power pop-up podcast, which is a private podcast, by the way, to find out how you can make an incredible difference in this world just by being you. Go to sedruolamaruska.com/work with Sadie for more information.
Well, I never like set out to look for it. I was actually in the hospital being treated for one of my all of my I got a whole bunch of health issues. So I was being
You have
treated.
other health issues as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So I was there for a while and like I wouldn't like verbally speak to my doctors. I wouldn't tell them when I was in pain. I wouldn't like really communicate with them when they were asking me questions. I would just like what I now call that is an autism shutdown. I was shutting down a lot while I was in the hospital, and I was there for a very long time. So like after a while, they were like, we feel like something is going on here with her. So they brought in a team to give me a full evaluation. It was a psych team that did my evaluation. It took a couple of hours. I was like restless, and they were really nice though. They let me take breaks. They spoke to my dad and asked him like, what was I like as a child? What was I like growing up? So like that's how I got diagnosed. Like even though I don't think anything's an accident, it kind of happened by accident. I was being treated for other things, and they were like, "We see something going on here, so let's try to get to the bottom of it."
Wow. I think that that's incredible. I think that it's great that they did that because it shows that they were paying attention. And
Yeah.
all too often, we hear stories about how Black patients are not taken care of or
Not
treated
at
or
all. As many doctors I had seen before, like I was admitted into the hospital, I had a therapist like years ago before this even happened asked me. We were just having a conversation, and he was like, "Has anybody ever told you that you might be on the spectrum?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Oh, it sounds like you are." But then he was like, "What are you having for dinner?" And I'm just like, "Okay, well, what does that mean?" Like he never did anything about it. He was white. So like, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm not surprised. He was just like, "Okay, it's a little Black girl. She's one of my patients. She comes in for therapy. I think she might be autistic, but I'm not going to do anything about it." So, it was like it could have been treated years ago, but it was overlooked.
Wow. Yes. So, because that was going to be one of my questions, like, how could it be overlooked for so many years until you were an adult that they would find out? And you just kind of answered that. They just kind of glossed over it. It was kind of
Yeah,
like,
that's what he did. And like I didn't like him anyway. So like like I saw him for like a little while after that. Then I was like, I don't want to see him anymore. So I just went to a different therapist, but like the subject never came up again until I was put into the hospital. And then like, people are like, well, how nobody knew anything and when you were a child? I'm like, well, when I was a child, it was just well, she's shy, or she just don't listen, or like, cause me, I was like, I had a lot of energy. I would just like to sit in the corner all day and draw, and I wanted everybody to leave me alone. Sometimes I wouldn't speak because it was too sometimes it was physically impossible. So I wouldn't even speak when spoken to. And everybody was always like, what is wrong with her? What is wrong with her? And, my parents, they knew that I was an artist. So they're like, she's an artist, just leave her alone, let her be herself. So like they were never like, oh, well, she's just bad, she's just crazy. My parents never said that, but other people said that. They're just like, oh, she's bad, and oh, she don't listen. And no, but like I think that's how it was overlooked as me being a child, because like I was so eccentric and I was an artist. So you know how people say there's like a fine line between being crazy and being a genius.
being a genius.
So yeah. So like I
Yes.
think that that's also like how it got overlooked. They always kept me doing something creative. I've always drawn. That is my biggest form of communication, even today as an adult. I was always in some type of dance program. I was always in some type of theater program. So like they just kept me busy, and that's how I was challenging my energy, and that's how I was getting through life. So I think that's another way it was overlooked, is because I was always busy. I was always doing something. And, like I said, us artists were eccentric. So that's just probably what everybody thought it was.
Right.
And I'm Black. So Black people don't get autism.
Right. I mean, come on now. Yes, that's true. I was talking to someone earlier and we're talking about therapy because you said that you were in therapy.
Yes.
And that is not something that has been traditionally okay within the Black community. Like, it's like if you're getting therapy, there's really something wrong with you. Whereas now we really understand that therapy doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It simply means that you need to take care of your brain and your emotional self as well as your physical self.
Yes. And like, honestly, like therapy, I believe like it was before, like you said, therapy was something that you went to because there was a lot wrong. But I feel like now you should go to therapy so there won't be a lot wrong. So I believe I started therapy. I self-harm as a teenager. I didn't know it was always, because I didn't know why I was the way I was. So I did have a period of self-harm, and that's why my therapy started. But that's why I started therapy. But and even then, like I would, be with my friends or my cousins, and I'd be like, oh, I have to go, I have to have a doctor's appointment. And they're like, well, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing, it's therapy. And they're like, therapy? What are you going to therapy for? Black people don't go to therapy, just go to church. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Just
that is the traditional. Black people don't go to therapy, they go to church. Just go talk to your pastor.
And I was just like, and it's funny because at the time, like I was going to church with my tutor. So I was just like, I do go to church.
Right. So it's not that. So did your therapist ever mention the autism? Like ever?
No, just that one time. Before that, no.
Wow.
Like the first therapist I ever saw was when I was a teenager. And people saw my like going into my shell and as me being like very angry. And then so when I went to therapy, she was just like asking me what people would say about me. And what I would just tell her, and she's like, oh, it just sounds like you've held a lot in, so it's caused you to become depressed. And so, she was asking like textbook questions. It didn't even seem like, how like you go, like now it seems like my therapist, we pick up where we left off. Like then when I was going to therapy, it was just like she was just asking, questions, checking them off. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not the doctor, but I don't think this is the way it's supposed to go. But I saw her for about 2 months, and then I didn't go back to therapy for years. I was like, I don't got time for this. I got things to do. I got shows to do. And I kind of just put it in the back of my mind. There was still a lot that needed to be treated. But to me, I was just like, no, we got shows, and I'm going to go write a play, and I'm going to do this. And I was just like, I don't got time for this. But I'm glad that I'm back in therapy now. I go faithfully. But last week, though, I have to admit, my therapist was really, really late. And I told him I wasn't waiting, and I left. Because it's always late. And like people, like autistic people, we work like everything like on schedule,
like
and
a schedule,
schedule routine. So like every day, like I have a to-do list, and like he was messing up my to-do list. So I'm not waiting for him. Then I left. So I didn't have therapy last week, but I'm gonna have it this week. Or was that? It might have just been a few days ago. I don't know, but I'm gonna do my next session. But I am gonna like try to tell him, please be on time.
Right.
He gets paid if I'm there or not. I think I'm actually getting charged extra because I left.
Oh no. No, but now he knows that you're autistic, right?
My doctors know, yeah.
Yeah, so he should know how you work. He should try to understand at least a little bit what works best for you. You know what I mean?
I think I got so frustrated because like he's like, because we're doing it, virtually right now, because of COVID, and then I'm immunocompromised. So, I
Yes.
just can't take the chance of being in people's faces and coughing. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm a germaphobe. So I was just like, all right, we'll just do it. So they send you the link to log onto your session, and they're like, please be on time. But then they're not on time. So I'm like, okay.
Right. Oh gosh. Yes. So one of the things that you mentioned right before we got on the air, and that is that people think that because you're autistic, which means that you learn differently, you're stupid.
Yeah.
How do you think that has affected the way that you've seen yourself historically?
Well, I've learned that when you don't know about yourself and you don't understand yourself, it causes a lot of self-hate. So I
Mm,
didn't like myself because I didn't understand myself. I love everybody else around me, give love to
right.
everybody else around me, the most lovable person, but I wasn't giving any love to myself. Like I
Right.
didn't love myself because I'm like, well, why am I like this? Why am I so different? How come nobody can give me any answers? So
Right.
it made me feel like I was stupid. It did. Like,
Yeah.
what we talked about, like
Mm-hmm.
having like developmental delays, people think you're stupid. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It means exactly what it says, that you're developmentally delayed. So, like, if
Yes.
I have to explain that to you, like maybe I should be calling you stupid, but it's just like, I don't call people stupid though, because that's not nice. But
But I understand.
yeah. But yeah, sometimes people like can be very ignorant, and yeah, they hear autism and they don't feel like you can have like a normal conversation. Some days I can't have conversations. It's not
Right.
possible for me.
Mm-hmm.
But every day I do my best.
Mm-hmm.
But they assume like you don't like you can't like do everyday tasks. Like, but everybody's case of autism is different.
Yes.
Some people are able in one department but not in the other. I don't like to use the terms high functioning, low functioning,
Sure.
because like imagine somebody just saying to someone you're low functioning. Like, so I feel like functioning labels are harmful in another way, because also
Mm-hmm.
calling somebody high functioning, that gives the doctors an opportunity to overlook a treatment or a service that they might need because they think that they're high functioning. So
Mm-hmm.
functioning labels are definitely, I'm not a fan of those. Or even when people say mild autism, you don't know what a person had to go through to complete a task. So you might be seeing it as mild, but it could have took everything in them for them just to complete a task that should have been simple. So all the mild autism and the high functioning and low functioning, I'm not a fan of that. But
Right.
I definitely think it's harmful because it allows the medical industry to overlook you for things and not guide you in the right path of the services you might need, which, being a Black woman, they do that anyway.
Right. So we know that being a Black woman is one layer, well, several layers. Yeah, Black, you got woman, and now you have
Yeah.
autistic, and you have chronic illness. And so you've got quite a few layers there that
Yeah.
cause people to possibly miss you, the
Yeah.
you that is there right in front of them, because they're
Yeah, I always say that. I'm like, you don't know what might be hidden behind a disability, so you should always get to know a person.
yes, because right, because you are more than your disability, you are more than your diagnosis,
Yes.
more
Yes.
than you are more than what the doctors know or say or what have you about what's going on with you. And so I think that what is the if you don't mind my asking, what is like the strangest thing that someone has come back with you on when they found out that you were autistic? Like, what is, because I'm sure you've heard a lot of strange things.
Yeah, they say I didn't know Black girls could be autistic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You don't look autistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like,
That,
even like I completely understand like why they say those things. It
yes.
bothers me, but I understand why, because when you think of autism, a Black woman's face does not pop up in your head. When you think of autism, you think of little white boys. And you also, when you think of
Mm-hmm.
autism, you only think of children. Like autism doesn't end when you turn 18.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, not even when you turn 21, it does not end. You have it for your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, those are a few misconceptions. But yeah, people are like, I didn't know Black people can have autism, or you don't look autistic. And I'm just like, please explain to me how I'm supposed to look.
Yes, that was a question that came into my mind. It's like, so how are autistic people supposed to look?
Yeah, like
I
that's
think I
what
missed
like
that one.
I was just like
Yeah. I can imagine that it's you get a whole lot more of those, what are those microaggressions, those things that people say because they just don't understand
yeah.
versus, because they just and it really a lot of times it's because they're trying to be nice. And I
Hmm.
find that nice is very generic, and nice is also the thing, it's a big bucket that we put words into or actions into so that we can look proper in some way, not realizing that a lot of the things that we put into the nice bucket are actually not nice. They're
Yeah,
just
exactly.
right. You say them with a smile doesn't mean that you're being nice. It
Yeah, I don't know why people, because like me, like one thing about autistic people, we're very honest. If we don't understand something, we will try to understand. Like sometimes people are like, oh, why are you asking so many questions? Just trying to understand. Then like if I'm trying
right.
to understand, that means that I care. Because they also say that autistic people have no empathy. I'm one of the most empathetic people that I know,
Mm-hmm.
to the point where sometimes like if something's wrong with one of my friends, even if they don't tell me, I will know because I can feel it. So
Mm-hmm.
there are so many misconceptions, and I just feel like if you don't know something, it's as long as you're not doing it in like a disrespectful way and it's not an inappropriate question, just ask.
Ask. Yeah. Just ask. Yes. Just it goes back to what you were saying before, right? Everyone's autism is different. Every
Yes.
person experiences autism in a different way, and so it affects them in a different way, and it has them relate to people in a different way, and that's what it is. And so I think that people expect it all to look or feel or be or sound or whatever it is the same.
Yeah.
Autism is a monolith, which is a problem, right? Because that's how they see Black people. That's how they see gay people. That's how they see anybody who's they can visually see as disabled. That's how it's kind of a monolith. Well, all people who are like this do this, 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 and this. And when you don't fall into those parameters, then they're like, well, what does that mean? Instead of thinking, well, each person is an individual and different and requires a different, because you don't treat all your friends the same. You don't even talk to all your friends the same way, right?
Yeah,
All
yes,
your
and
quote unquote.
it's very challenging to like nurture your friendships when you have communication issues. But
Mm-hmm.
I do my best and all of my friends understand. Like most of my friends, I they were my friends before they found out that I was autistic.
Mm-hmm.
They just saw that I was really shy
Right,
and
right.
that I just was just like this mad creative running around. So like, but when they found out, they wanted to learn more so they could, make sure that they weren't harming me in any way and being offensive in any way. So,
Right.
like I appreciate them. I don't have a lot of friends, but the ones that I have, I do appreciate them because like I just had like a situation where like a person was I thought they were my friend, but they were really just like trying to make themselves look good for having an autistic friend and being nice to somebody who was autistic. So, that was really heartbreaking, but you live and learn.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't trust a lot of people, but the people that
Mm-hmm.
I do trust, I like hold them so dear and so close in my heart because
Yeah.
some people are just trash. So you have to really
Yeah.
appreciate the ones who are not.
Yes, they are. Wow. Yes. So it's the question. I have a question that just kind of popped into my head, because you said that you were full grown adult when you learned of your autism just about 5 years ago, correct? About 5 years ago. That means that you had to learn a lot about what autism means and what it means specifically for you, right?
Yes, and I've only learned like the majority of the things I know within the past 2 years, because when they first told me I was autistic, I was like, whatever, leave me alone. And I didn't think nothing of it. I wasn't thinking about it. I was like, I kept it to myself. I didn't tell anybody. I told maybe two people like right away. And actually a few people were like, well, we suspected it, but we don't want to offend you and tell you. But
Oh,
I was embarrassed. Like I didn't tell like a lot of
mm,
people for a really long time, for like, so like sometimes even now speaking about it, like I'm very vulnerable, and it's
mm-hmm.
hard sometimes. But yeah, like I didn't really tell anybody, and it's not like I had to face it, because like the hospital didn't like give us any direction to go in with it. Like
Oh,
even though, I didn't go into the hospital for that, but they
mm-hmm.
didn't really give us any direction to go in for it. It was just like, okay, well, here you go. You're autistic. All right. We're going to treat you for this. Here goes some seizure meds. Hopefully this changes. And okay, bye, you're discharged. Yeah. Like, and I was there for like three
Really?
months. Yeah. Like me and my dad, cause, my mom passed away, and,
Mm-hmm.
me and my dad, we did our own research. Like
Mm-hmm.
once I like, I guess I could say gave in,
Mm-hmm.
because I just would not face it at first. But like we did our
Yeah.
own research, and a therapist I was seeing around that time, she recommended I try DBT therapy and CBT therapy, which I did. DBT therapy is dialectical behavioral therapy, and
Mm-hmm.
CBT therapy is cognitive behavioral therapy. And I can't believe I just said that without stuttering, because I stutter. I'm doing good today, but
Yeah, I have not heard you stutter, but that's
I'm doing
okay.
good today. But that's a result of having a series of bad seizures last year. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just getting back to myself. But
Mm-hmm.
of those two therapies, I would say that the cognitive behavioral therapy works better for me.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell everybody you have to go with what works best for you, because
Mm-hmm.
you're not me. We're not the same. We have different needs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the reason why the cognitive behavioral therapy works best for me is because it teaches you to be mindful. And
Mm-hmm.
if you could just be mindful and be present in the moment, it makes
Mm-hmm.
things a lot easier for you. Like be present in the moment, take things
Mm-hmm.
moment by moment, minute by
Mm-hmm.
minute, day by day. It makes things like a lot easier. So that's why the cognitive behavioral therapy works best for me, because it taught me to be mindful.
Mm-hmm. That also speaks to the schedule,
Yeah,
staying on schedule. That's kind of helps with the mindfulness and the
yeah,
full
it does. Like
focus and
every morning when I wake up, I meditate and I write in my gratitude journal, because I need the universe to know that I'm grateful. So even if
mm,
I don't have a lot to say, even if I'm only writing a few sentences, some days I'm grateful for a lot of things every day, but sometimes I don't have the mental energy to
mm-hmm,
put it down on paper.
mm-hmm,
But I'll still write something, even if
mm-hmm,
it's just like I'm thankful that I woke up. So
mm-hmm,
as long as I'm putting something out there, and letting the universe know that I'm grateful, even for the smallest things,
mm-hmm.
that helps me get through my day. Like every day, meditation, gratitude journal. Then you can continue on with your day. Because if you don't do those two things, you're not gonna do the rest of
It throws
whatever you
everything
need.
off.
Yeah, like everything is thrown off. Like if I have a day where it's like a very busy day, and I have my to-do list, and let something on that to-do list not get done, and I'm so hard on myself. Like I'm working on it, because you have to give yourself the grace that you give others. So
Yes, yes,
I'm working on being nicer to myself when I don't get everything done that I plan to get done in a day.
yeah. I love it. I love it. You have a lot of things to share here, and I do the same. I mean, and you're right. Like mindfulness, being in the moment. I meditate in the morning, and I do also try to write at least something in the morning. Some days I can do a lot. And some days, like you said, it's just like, I'm so happy I woke up this morning. It's going to be a beautiful day and just keep it moving. But it just gives you that grounding. It gives you that space where you're like, okay, it's today.
Yes.
All right. Now we take
Yes.
hold of the day and we just kind of go with it. So I love it. I love it. So so we're going to get into all the things that you do because you're really kind of impressive. And I'm just kind of like feeling a little not as so.
Everybody matters. Everybody's
Everybody
impressive.
matters. Everybody's got their
Yes.
thing. And your
Yes.
gifts are amazing. So you did mention that you were an artist. So you've been drawing, you would draw, you would sit in the corner and do your drawing and
All
shut the
day.
world out. Leave me alone. I am busy over here being a genius. And so you have actually gotten your illustrations into 17 books, right? 17 being the one that's going to be released, right? And that's going to be
Yes, this
yours.
fall.
Yes, very exciting. And so these books that you have illustrated, how did you connect with the people to illustrate these books?
One of my dad's aunts, so she's my great aunt. I love her. She's so funny. She's 90. And
Wow.
once they get that age, they don't really care and they say what they want. So she's hilarious and I love her. But she was actually she put me in art shows when I was about 7 years old. So at 7 years old, I was
Oh.
doing art shows. We were selling my artwork all around Westchester, New York City. So that kind of fueled my passion. So I'm gonna say maybe around 10 years ago, I did my own book, like for myself. So this is
Mm-hmm.
actually my second book that's gonna come
Okay.
out. So like after people saw my book, it's not in print anymore. But after people saw my book, it was great. We had a book signing, and that was kind of torture for me because like the social setting. But I pushed through and I got through it. But we had we had the book signing. Everything went great. I was actually signed to a small publishing company at that time, and I had a literary agent. He was one of the biggest literary agents in New York. He doesn't do it anymore, but it just kind of, the illustration industry is not very big. So like just by
Mm.
word of mouth, people were reaching out to me, and with different projects, and some projects I started and didn't complete, or I completed but I never gave it to them because they didn't pay me. So, like it would have been way more
Yes.
than 17, but everything doesn't always work out, and you have to be okay with that. And you have to
Right.
know that it didn't work out for a reason, and just know that that's God protecting you. So,
Okay.
um yeah, it's just like people started to reach out to me, and the projects that I was interested in, I went for it.
I love it. And then, so how did you get to do your own book? And what type of book is it? It's children's book as well, because
Uh
I think that most
yes.
of your books are children's books. Okay.
Yes, they're all children's books. But I have published four coloring books. But yes, this is a children's book that I am authoring and illustrating, and it's about Black girls and autism.
Oh, it's tied into your passion. I love
Yeah.
it. That's fantastic. Yeah, because I think, you know what I'm loving right now is maybe it's always been there, but I think it's more prominent now are all the books that are diverse and talking about diverse issues and showing diversity within their pages. So,
Yeah. I
so
mean, there's
that
nothing wrong with the books, The Hungry Caterpillar or whatever it's called. And there's nothing
sure.
wrong, the Harold and the Purple Crown. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But, there are people and children out there that need to see people who are like them.
Yes. Yes. And when they can see themselves in the pages of books, it I think that it will help people later on not say things like, well, I didn't know Black girls got autism,
Yeah,
right?
you don't look autistic. Like, I still get the you don't look autistic, and I just want an answer. Like, what does
What does
somebody with
that
autism look like? And
exactly?
now, like, because, like, once I started sharing my journey, I post a lot. I share a lot. Very transparent, even when I don't want to be, or even when it's hard. And people still say that. I'm just like, okay, I give up. I could look like whatever you want me to look like.
Right. So that's why I think that your book is going to be kind of incredible, because I think it's going to give people more of a glimpse, like we were talking about. And people need to just be able to see beyond. And so it'll give people more of a glimpse, and they can say, oh, well, yes, of course, Black girls and Black boys and people can be autistic. Of course, that can be a thing. And so it doesn't become that question, and it doesn't become that, oh, you don't look like that, right? It
Yeah.
becomes
And
more
then
of,
hopefully some of the stigma is let go of, because, like, a lot of the stigmas are very dehumanizing and hurtful.
yes,
So, and imagine like being a child, and like with me, I was very passive and nonchalant. Sometimes my feelings were hurt, but that was
right.
mostly in school with like bullying, and feel like, what's wrong with her, and she's weird. But my grandma actually worked at my school, so she came and she shut that down each time.
Okay.
Because I even had like a teacher bully me once, which was really strange, because I was like in third grade.
Really?
Yeah. And I was
Mm.
scared to she choked me. I was scared to tell my
Oh
parents, and
my
one of my
gosh.
friends, a good friend of mine, someone who like protected me in school, because I feel like kids know things, and they know when somebody needs a little extra help, and they know when
Yes.
somebody needs a little extra protecting. And she was one of those people, and we still speak to this day. When my dad came to pick me up, he told her, she told him, this teacher choked Yanni. That's my nickname, Yanni.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I've dealt with bullying from children and adults.
Wow. That's just so mind-blowing to me. It just gets me right in the heart, because I'm just like, how do people do that? Like, how do you see a child, and as an adult, especially, you see a child and you think, okay, I'm going to treat that child totally differently than every other child, because they bother me, or
It was a substitute teacher too, which threw me off, because this is something new, and I
right.
thrive off routine.
Yes.
And her teaching style was difficult for me to pick up on, so I asked her a lot of questions. And then I don't know where we were going, but we had to leave our classroom, and I asked her another question, and she was like, "I'm tired of you," and she just choked me. And
Oh
like,
my, oh my
and people
God.
like people really like do not like, they're just like, we cannot believe that she choked you. And I'm like, yeah, like, she's lucky that that's not when my grandma worked at that school, because she wouldn't have kept her life.
Oh my word, right?
But she
So,
was gone from the district, and I never saw her again.
well, that's good. She shouldn't be around children if she can't handle kids asking questions. I mean, you know, it's just a thing that comes with children. you
Yeah,
know.
and my dad don't play that either, so that's why I was scared to tell him, because I was like, he knew something was wrong with me, though, because he said that me and
Yeah.
my older brother, he said that when me and my older brother were children, because my little sister, she's a lot younger than us. My older brother, he said that we were never complainers. So he said the only time he knew that something was wrong with us was if we got really quiet.
You shut
So
down. Yeah.
yeah, so he suspected that something was off about me that day. And then my friend Courtney told, and I was just like, I was scared. I was still scared after she told.
Oh my goodness. So another thing that you do is that you are a former choreographer. So you are a
Yes.
dancer. That is so awesome. And what type of dance?
We did interpretive dance and hip hop
Oh,
dance, and
okay.
they actually learned ASL in a lot of their dances, because I did it at that time. Like
Oh,
right now, I really don't know a lot of it right now. When I lost
okay.
my memory last year, that's one of the things that like really didn't come back. Like I only know like a few signs, but yeah, those were the main things. But their favorite was hip hop, so that's what we did, and theatrical.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, because you did say you were very creative. You were an
Yes,
artist, an eccentric artist. So
yeah.
you did theater and dance and artistry, and so that's awesome.
Yes, and
And
I loved the theater company that I worked with in Westchester County. Like the director, she was so nice and she just gave me like so much freedom to do what I wanted. Like
mhm,
because I had my own dance program, but then I also
mhm.
worked with the theater department. And
Okay.
I think for our second season, we did The Wiz. And we had a new staff member come on and we were watching the movie at our first staff meeting and I was her name Eveline in The Wiz, the last dance scene when they like come out of bondage and they're like all
Oh,
set free.
I have
Yeah,
not seen it in so long. I actually
well,
want to
that
watch it again.
movie, that movie, I'm scared of that movie. When those things come out in the subway and they started chasing, yeah, I don't like that movie. But we had to watch it at the staff meeting, and we had a new staff member, and he was so negative. And I'm like, how are you coming to working with kids being negative? Because he was like to me, you ain't never gonna get them kids to learn this. You ain't never. I was just like, okay, just sit back
Mm.
and watch, and we'll see. And like they killed it. So I'm like, okay, now what do you have to say? And he was like, oh, I'm
All
impressed.
right. Nice. I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. So you are a dancer. So you were also honored at the UN. Tell us
Yes.
a little bit about that because I'm
Yes,
interested.
I was honored at the United Nations. I don't remember what year it is. Again, my dad's not here to help me, but yes, I was honored at the United Nations, and one of my dance groups actually performed at the ceremony, and it was for my work in the artistic community and
Mm,
my work with children because I had even though I worked with the theater companies, I had my own dance company, so
mm-hmm.
it was for my work with the in the artistic community and with the dance community in Westchester County.
And is that why you have your own day? Because and it's not your birthday. So I have to tell you have April 26th is Ayanna Day in Westchester, New York, which is so awesome.
Yeah, and like when I got it, like when they gave me my proclamation, I didn't even know what it meant. And like, me, I was starting to ask questions. My dad was like, "We'll talk about it later," because he knows once I start asking questions, like. But I knew that they were appreciative of what I was doing, and I knew that it was an honor. So I was very grateful, and that you know what I was doing was recognized. Even though when I started, I wasn't doing it for recognition, but to be appreciated is a good feeling.
Yes. So now you have an older brother, and you said you
Yes,
have a younger sister or brother?
yes,
Sister.
younger sister. Yeah.
Okay. And how do your siblings relate to you with having been diagnosed as autistic?
I believe that since they don't talk about it, like I
Right.
think
Like,
because I've always been who I am to them, so
right.
they this is the only Yanni that they've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
So like, growing up, my brother was very protective. I don't know if he thought that I was different. I feel like he did though, but he was very protective. I remember this girl pushed me and my knees was all skinned up and I was bleeding
Mm-mm.
everywhere and he and this is not nice because he beat her up and she's a girl. Boys ain't supposed to hit girls, but yeah, he's very protective. He's still very protective. Like, thank God he lives in another state because he would be at my door a lot. Like, what's
Right.
wrong? What happened? Who did it?
Who did
But
it?
yeah,
Let me go find
he's
them.
yeah, he's very protective of me. My younger sister, she's funny because she won't ask me. She'll ask my dad. Like if I get sick and have to go like to the ER or to the hospital or have to be admitted or whatever for like,
Mm.
all these health issues, she won't ask me anything. She'll just be like to my dad, she'll be like, "Oh, well, is Johnny okay?" So like for her, it's I feel like it's a little harder for her because she's younger. But my brother, like they didn't treat me any different when I got my diagnosis. They just knew that they knew I was in the hospital for 3 months, and that's what they were
Mm-hmm.
concerned about. So
Mm-hmm.
I think they just want to make sure that I'm okay.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Well, that's great. Is there anything that I have not asked you that you would like to talk about right now?
No, I think you asked some awesome questions.
Okay. Well, I find you incredibly fascinating as a human being.
Thank
I
you.
think, yeah, because I keep wanting to write or else do something with one book, and you've got like all of these other. So I think that that's fantastic. Ayanna, so phenomenally autistic. Let's talk just a little bit about that. What is
Yeah,
that?
see my shirt says
I
it.
know it. Love it.
Well, when you hear the word autistic, you don't usually think about the word phenomenal, and I want to change
Well, and that is that. I love
that.
it. Nope, it's great. Phenomenally autistic. Yes, I love it. So, Ayanna, the last question I would like to ask you is, what is your favorite dish?
Okay, so this is not just, I just can't give you an answer. I have to explain some things. Is that okay?
Please, yes, please.
Okay, I'm very picky. That's the word to use, even though it's not really the right words. I have taste sensitivities and texture sensitivities. So like,
Oh.
a bite of the wrong food could send me to a dark place. But
Yes, okay.
like seriously, it could cause a meltdown. So like I don't eat a lot, but if I had to like choose something that I would say is a safe food is just, something that an autistic person probably would go to, like if we go to a restaurant, or if I have guests coming over and somebody's gonna cook because I can't cook. But I would say pasta, because the texture is safe, and you can get different flavors of it. Even though me, I'm picky, so
Right.
I'm not doing nothing too crazy, and no seafood because I'm allergic. But I would
Okay.
say pasta.
Okay. I did not know that there was a food sensitivity or that there could be a food sensitivity
Yes,
connected with autism. So
yes,
I
food
learned that today.
sensitivities, taste, smell sensitivities,
Mm-hmm.
um noise sensitivities can
Yes.
cause sensory overload.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a lot. It's hard to use more than one sense at a time. So if you notice today, like if anytime you feel like I wasn't paying attention to you, it was just me trying to listen to you and
Mm-hmm.
understand you better.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no. I just thought you were just showing me your beautiful hair.
This is a wig. I am bald headed. I lost all my hair to like medication and like my
Did you
autoimmune issues.
really?
Do you follow me on Instagram?
No, I think I do. If I
I
don't,
posted
I
a
better.
picture. Like I am like
Okay.
bald, and like I really can't wait to take off this wig because it itches. But yeah,
It looks fantastic.
thank you.
I was diagnosed with cancer in 2017, so I lost all my
Oh, I'm
hair
sorry to
in
hear that.
2018. I'm good. I lost all my hair in 2018, so I had, I had the whole bald thing going as well. So I kind of
Yeah, like if you see the picture, yeah, I'm like really bald headed. Like the wigs that I wear, like I tried to get the ones that were like closest to my texture. Like
yeah.
I just told my friends and family, and I just showed them like my bald head. And a lot of them were like, we didn't know because you've always had a lot of hair. And I'm like, well, yeah, I've been trying to tell y'all for the past 8 months that my hair was falling out again. And I went through this a couple of years ago. It's common when you're on a lot of medication, 40 pills a day. And
Did you say 40?
yes.
Wow. So we actually didn't talk about you have a chronic disease, an autoimmune disease, and a seizure disorder. So
Yes,
for those things, you're taking 40 pills a day. That is a lot.
yes. And some of those pills are also psych meds, which are used
Okay.
to treat my autism symptoms since there is no cure for autism. But yes,
Yeah.
me and my happy 40 pill a day taking self. Everybody was like, well, we didn't like, cause they didn't, I was like, oh, my hair's falling out again. And my friends was like, you've always had hair. Ain't nothing wrong with your hair. So like, it was like the shock of their freaking life when they saw my bald head, and it was like, we didn't know that those were wigs. And they were like, is that what your hair looked like anyway? And I'm like, well, now you know.
Now you know. Now you know. There's something to be said about freeing yourself and just being who you are and just showing up however you show up, you know. I can relate to that for sure. I had
Yeah, I'm still getting used to it. Like now, like if I go out, because I don't like to wear wigs because it
Mhm.
itches, and like this is the first year I've ever worn a wig, so I'm not used to this. So
Right.
like if I go out, I put on a hat or like a head tie.
Yeah.
And but like if I have a new baby nephew and if I go visit him, like he's so shady, even at 4 months old, he will not talk to me if I do not have on a wig. He just stares at my bald head. Like, you're not gonna keep hurting my feelings, Poppy.
Oh, kids are funny that way
Yeah,
because
he just like stares at where my hair should be.
they
And I'm
do.
like,
But you
because
know,
like even though it's been coming out for a few months, like the majority of it came out like really fast. Like for months, like
oh,
clumps was coming out like every time I
mhm,
touched it. And
mhm.
like that's traumatizing. And I didn't know that, but because this happened before, but when it happened before, I don't know, it wasn't like it is this time, but
It's different, yeah.
like it came out really fast. Like the majority of it
Mhm.
came out really fast. So like everybody got the shock of it. Like they was like, oh my God. I was like, it's okay, I'll be fine. I have my moments where I'm like, oh, I don't like how I look. And cause
Yeah.
like my hair, like when I was a little girl and I used to get bullied and stuff. Like my hair was sometimes a topic of discussion for people because it was long, and like sometimes I feel like people are ignorant when they're like, "Oh my God, your hair is so long and so pretty," but
Mm,
but I could hide behind that. So
yes, yes,
now, not having my hair, I can't hide behind that. So
yes,
I'm still like, trying to come to terms with, the fact that it's okay, it'll grow back. And even if it doesn't grow back, it's okay.
yes, yes, yes. I can understand that. Absolutely. Well, Ayanna, thank you so much for being on Diversity Dish. I have had such a good time talking to you,
Thank
and
you
I
so much
have
for having
learned
me.
so much. Thank you for sharing so
Yay.
freely. Yeah. I am going to make sure to link your put your links in the show notes below so that our audience can find you, and
Thank you.
also links to any of your books. I know that the latest one is My Melanin, correct?
Yes, the author is Renita Pagan, and that's the current book that I'm promoting.
Awesome. So we will definitely link that one as well. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, did you enjoy that episode? If so, please leave a review. It would mean the world, but only if it's a good one and you really did enjoy it. In which case, it would be awesome if you help support my work over at Patreon. The link is in the show notes. See you soon.